Over the past few years, we've had a continual stream of new soft feed varieties. Until recently, these weren't particularly competitive yield-wise with the hard feeds, but in the last couple of years, we've had some really nice varieties come through. We start here with LG Skyscraper, which is the highest yielding variety currently on the recommended list. It's a tall variety, but has good straw strength, has good rust resistance, but is not great for septoria. Along with Skyscraper, we have LG Spotlight, slightly lower yielding, similar disease characteristics, but with a very good specific weight. This year, new to the recommended list, we have RGT Saki. RGT Saki has a yield just 1% below Skyscraper, with a better untreated yield. It has good resistance to the rusts and it has better septoria resistance. It's a late variety to mature, +3, so that's just something to consider when you're thinking about where to put it on your farm. There are many other soft feed varieties available, but these 3 varieties that I've just talked about are really the best and most competitive packages in that group.
Claire, these soft group 4s, I mean, they've actually got quite good disease resistance. Most of these are moderate and low input. I particularly like Saki. It seems that we've got some good group 4s in this group.
We have got some really good choices now, and I think people that have traditionally grown hard feed varieties could well benefit from some of these new soft feed varieties. There are 4 soft feed candidates this year. Yield-wise, none of them look to match the levels of Skyscraper and Saki, so we will have to keep an eye on the other characteristics that they offer, and with another year's data, see how they stack up against those varieties. We have 3 new hard feed varieties added to the recommended list this year. We start here with SY Inciter, which has come on with a very high yield and equal Skyscraper up at 105. Its straw is a bit on the weak side. We need to make sure that it is managed well and not grown in very high lodging situations, but it has a good specific weight and decent septoria resistance. We then move on to KWS Kinetic. It's 1% lower yielding, so still a very high yielding variety, but it has a lower untreated yield and only moderate disease resistance. Finally in this group we have Theodore. Theodore has a lower treated yield down at 100, but it has a very high untreated yield up at 90. It has good yellow rust resistance and very good septoria resistance at 8.2. However, it has a low specific weight down at 73.8, and this must be considered before this variety is put in the ground.
So Claire, we're in Kinetic here. Now Kinetic's had yellow rust here all the way through the season, where some of the other varieties are only just picking it up now. Clearly there's an issue with the resistance to Kinetic, and yet you mentioned Theodore. Theodore has been the greenest looking plots all season on this site, and even though the site's starting to show the effects of drought now, the Theodore looks amazingly green.
Like with all things, it's a bit of a balancing act. Kinetic has a lower yellow rust resistance, but it has a very good specific weight, whereas Theodore has very good yellow rust resistance, but a poor specific weight. So with all these varieties, you're always trying to balance the risks.
And septoria?
Theodore has excellent septoria resistance up at 8.2, whereas Kinetic is 5.
Yeah.
So of course, we also have some more well-established group 4 varieties. We have Gleam, RGT Gravity, KWS Kerin and Graham, all which you probably will have seen before and all merit consideration still for this slot.
These group 4s, there's quite a wide range of disease resistance in there. We've got some varieties, I mean, you mentioned Kinetic, obviously got yellow rust issues, but we've also got some good cleaner varieties here. We've got Graham, which occasionally looks a bit sort of speckly. Earlier on in the season we saw some of that, but in general that's quite clean. So we've got quite a range from low input right up to very high input varieties in the same group.
We have. There's a good choice for people, and they really need to just think where the variety is going to go, what equipment they will have available, and pick the one most suitable for their situation. We have 6 hard feed candidates this year, and as with the soft feed candidates, their yields don't look to be a step forward. However, they may well have other attributes that come on offer, and these need to be weighed up well. RGT Wolverine definitely has an attribute that stands out even at this point in time. It has BYDV resistance, and it is the first of its type to come through the system with this added trait. It's bound to be of interest to growers and would really add value in a rotation. So there are obviously a lot of varieties to choose from currently on the recommended list, so I'll just give you a summary to give you something to focus on. So in Group 1 we have KWS Zayat, Skyfall and Crusoe. Group 2, KWS X-Days and KWS Siskin. Group 3, KWS Farfly. Group 4, Soft, we have LG Skyscraper, LG Spotlight and RGT Saki. And finally, in the hard Group 4s, we have Gleam and Graham and SY Inciter.